Welcome. You're listening to the Louie Minor Show. I'm your host, Bell County Commissioner Louie Minor. Today is April 27th, 2024. We have a lot to get to and a special guest, so let's get started. So typically on the fifth Monday of the month, we do not have a Commissioner's Court meeting, but we do this time. This is a special meeting. So let me read you the agenda for the Commissioner's Court meeting for April 29th, 2024. We have, invocation, pledge of allegiance, consent agenda items, consider the approval of April 22nd, Commissioner's Court meeting. Then we have the personnel budget amendment, claims, payroll, restitution, jury pay. Then we have consider authorizing $21,934 cost increase to purchase order number 295233 for two 12-yard dump trucks for the Road and Bridge Department at a total cost of $324,346 with the appropriate budget amendments. This increase is due to crossing model year cycles and the discontinuation of the 2024 Legacy Series model by the manufacturer and replaced by 2025 Plus Series model. E, consider approval transfer of $200,000 from the BIGO Reserve to the Expo Capital Improvement Project Fund. And then we have County Engineer, consider and approve the preliminary plat of the ranch at Latitude 31, Phase 1 being 195.822 acre, 168 lot, 5 block subdivision located within Bell County, Texas, Precinct 1. B, consider and approve proposed amendments to the Bell County subdivision. And that is everything. Now let's go to our workshop agenda. We have nothing from staff, but we have, beginning at 1:30, tax appraisal district entity meetings with Bell County. And then we have mid-year review, and then revenue projections. And that is it. But then we're going to get started on doing our budgets, our budget workshop. So we got a budget workshop for April 30th from 1:30 to 5, May 1st from 2 to 5, May 2nd from 9 to 12, May 7th from 9 to 12, May 8th from 9 to 12, May 9th from 2 to 4, May 13th from 1:30 to 5, May 14th from 9 to 12, May 15th from 1:30 to 5, May 21st from 9 to 12, and June 4th from 9 to 12, June 5th from 1:30 to 5, June 6th, 9 to 12, June 11th, 9 to 12, and June 12th, 1:30 to 5. That is everything for our workshop and special meeting on the 29th. Well, let's talk about real quick what happened during this week's meeting for April 22nd. We had a workshop item that I had brought up and planning on bringing for a vote on May 6th about the new law, that constitutional amendment that was passed by Bell County voters. And that's the SB 1145, where counties and cities are authorized to adopt an exemption for child care facilities that qualify. And we had 11 speakers come to the Commissioner's Court, and they were all given the opportunity to speak and interact with the court, so that was good. And so I did not get a good warm and fuzzy from my fellow commissioners that this is something that they're interested in approving, which is really odd because this is voter approved. Voters already approved it, and they're talking about, oh, we're going to have to go up on everyone's taxes, and if we use the numbers that Commissioner Whitson were using, about a little over $300,000, that's 1/10 of 1 penny on property taxes. So not a lot, 1/10 of 1 penny. So I hope that they're able to consider this favorably, because I know our child care centers need this and deserve it. And it was in the paper, and now I think because of it being in the paper, that now the city of Killeen is going to be moving forward with this. So that's a great thing. All the cities are going to have to do it. I had lunch with the mayor of Temple yesterday, Tim Davis, and I brought this up to him, and he was a little aware of it, but not a lot, unless the state legislature passes so many laws every 2 years, and they come into effect. And then this one was a constitutional amendment. We had a vote on it. It didn't go into effect till January of this year. So other cities and counties started passing it, and I guess people here locally were waiting for us to do something. And it's, unless it's on your radar and you're tracking it, it can get overlooked. So I think the cities are now starting to follow the suit now that Bell County was moving forward with it. So yeah, kudos for Killeen for wanting to pick it up. But like I said, the mayor said that that's something that he would consider going to the agenda. So hopefully we'll have it in Temple, have it in Killeen, have it in Bell County, and then definitely need it for the other cities: Salado, Belton, Troy, and it just depends on where all the Nolanville, see where all the operators are, but every city should adopt this. So something that also came up on the radar last week was, and we'll get into it with our guest. We'll be talking with Michelle Cummings, Bell County District Attorney candidate. I'm sorry, County Attorney candidate, Democrat. But our County Attorney, Jim Nichols, was appointed to represent the state in getting rid of Travis County District Attorney from office. And let me play a quick little news clip from, I believe it's KView or KXAN out of Austin. And, to me, the interesting thing is, this is news all over the state. All over the state, this is in the news. But none of our local news has picked it up. Nobody from Temple Daily, no one from Killeen Daily, no one from any of our media television. So anyways, let me play this little clip real quick.
Well, today, Democrats are standing by Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza amid an attempt to have him removed from office.
Over the weekend, a petition was filed accusing Garza of indiscriminately pressing charges against law enforcement officials. Now, this afternoon, local Democrats said this is an attempt by Republicans to ignore election results. Garza won the Democratic primary back in March and is expected to win the general election this November. Now, this removal effort is the result of House Bill 17, a new law that took effect back in September. The law allows courts to remove district attorneys for official misconduct, more specifically, for having a policy of categorically not prosecuting certain offenses. Democrats are critical of the Republican-backed law.
They only believe in elections they win. They only believe in local control if it follows their dogma. And so whether it is a plastic bag ban a healthcare order, a zoning requirement, or in this case, our district attorney, they believe in overruling the decision of local officials whenever it doesn't fit their dogma.
Democrats point out that the petition does not cite any so-called misconduct by Garza that happened after the new law took effect. Supporters of the law say it's a tool to rein in rogue district attorneys who don't pursue certain crimes. Senior reporter Tony Plahetzky joins us here at the desk now with more insight on this case. So, Tony, what happens next in this lawsuit?
While there has been so much attention on the fact that this petition was granted by the judge, there is still a long way potentially to go in this process. And I want to tell you, I've just talked to the Bell County attorney who's been appointed to handle this matter, and he's still reviewing all of the evidence and possibly will determine at some point in coming weeks whether or not to go forward even with this case. So he has the discretion to say there's not enough evidence for this case to move forward. However, if he does, and if this were to end up in a courtroom, that would happen here in Travis County with an appointed judge, and then it would be determined whether or not by a jury Jose Garza would remain in office. But again, that is a big if when we see the amount of support that Garza has among the electorate here in Travis County. That reaffirmed just in March in the Democratic primary.
And so then, Tony, I want to ask you, there have been other attempts to remove district attorneys under House Bill 17, but this case is certainly unique.
The first time that a judge has actually said one of these cases can move forward, and that's why there is so much attention on this case being handled under, Ashley, as we know, what is called the rogue prosecutor law. But I do want to tell you that removals of elected officials, including prosecutors, are not necessarily uncommon predating this law. We saw that, many of you will remember, in Travis County a decade ago after the drunk driving arrest of then District Attorney Rosemary Lindbergh. In 2022, the El Paso DA resigned just as a judge was about to decide whether or not she could be suspended prior to a removal trial. And in the past year, the Nueces County DA resigned amid an effort to remove him just as he was facing trial.
Okay, will certainly be something we'll be keeping an eye on, Tony.
A lot of attention on this.
Thanks,
Tony.
You bet.
So now I think this will be a good segue to our guest today. I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Miss Michelle Cummings, our Bell County candidate, Democratic candidate for county attorney. Michelle, welcome. Thank you for coming to being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get candidates to come and tell us about themselves on the show, and you're the first candidate that we're having on the show. So thank you for doing that. And I guess first of all, just who is Michelle Cummings? What can you tell us about you? Tell the voters about you.
For time's sake, I'll keep it very simple. I am a mom. I have 3 children. We live in Bell County, obviously. I have been an attorney for 4 short years. And part of that was because I went to law school very late in life. But I felt that it was the right path to go on. It was a path where I could make a difference. I have, in prior lives, I've been a CPS investigator. I have been a jailer at a county jail. And I've been an insurance agent. I've worn a lot of hats, and this is the one position to where I feel that I'm able to affect lives and make positive changes for just regular people.
You're a veteran, though, too, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. I spent 13 years in the reserves as a 92 Golf, so a cook, a food service specialist is
and
the
that's
appropriate class.
Army Reserves?
Yes, the Army Reserves.
Okay. Well, that stuff matters around here. People are very territorial, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, all that stuff. So I think we tend to like Army a little bit better around here.
Well, because the Army is the best.
Yeah.
We do the most work, so.
Well, that's good. So you've lived in Bell County how long?
For 4 years.
Okay. How do you like it so far?
I love Bell County. as far as the people, I love the diversity. I love being able to go find so many different things to eat that are good.
Mm-hmm.
Having an Asian market that's close and always fully stocked with things that I enjoy. I like the closeness to Austin and Dallas, and there's always something to do, and really just the people.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. So you're running for county attorney. You were unopposed in the Democratic primary. I believe this is the first time, I can't even remember how long it's been since we had a Democratic county attorney candidate run. So maybe 20, 30 years since we've had one. And so what does a county attorney do? And why did you decide to run for office? According to the Texas Association of Counties description of a county attorney, I'll read it real quick. And represents the state in prosecuting misdemeanor criminal cases, works with law enforcement officers in investigations of criminal cases, provide legal advice to the commissioner's court and other elected officials, bring civil enforcement actions on behalf of state or county, represents victims of family violence in protective order proceedings, represents Texas Department of Family and Protective Services in child abuse and neglect cases, and then finally represents the state in application and petitions for mental health commitments. And that's what TAC says, and a county attorney does. What does a county attorney do?
Well, if you look at the actual statute for a county attorney, it's much simpler and a lot less duties than that. It's more or less just representing the county in whatever those assigned duties are, and then advising commissioners and county officials on things. And then depending on which county you're in, additional duties may be assigned, especially in counties where there's not a district attorney. In those counties, that's where a lot of those duties you list, those fall into the county attorney's purview because there's not a district attorney. Here, we do have a district attorney. However, the county attorney here does handle the CPS cases. They also do all the juvenile cases. The protective orders, the prosecution of misdemeanors, advising the commissioners, appeals from the JP courts, and I'm sure I'm missing a few things, but there's a lot of duties that fall on the county attorney here in Bell.
So do you interact a lot with the Bell County Attorney's Office now in your capacity?
I used to a little bit more, and by choice, I do not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so okay, well, that's what is your opinion of the county attorney's office now? I mean, obviously, you decided to run for office, right?
Correct.
So let's get into that. Why did you decide to run for office? What can you do better?
Well, I think efficiency is going to be one of the very first things. The offices are not efficient. And we have misdemeanor cases that have been pending for 5-6 years. A misdemeanor case, where maximum on a class A is going to be a year, but people are waiting 5-6 years for resolutions. We have military personnel that can't ETS and go where they need to go because they have pending misdemeanors where there's, nothing in sight about a resolution because no one's making it a priority to handle. Getting discovery on cases is almost impossible here. And, one of the things that was frustrating for me is when it's being blamed on local law enforcement for there not being discovery at the county attorney's office. But then I'm like, well, why would you file a case if you've never received discovery on it? So it's just a blame game. And I don't think it's Killeen PD's fault that there wasn't discovery. I think the county attorneys have it and they're just, not making it a priority to turn it over to attorneys. And that's an issue.
Well, I think for a lot of people that, they're not involved with the criminal justice system, they're not going to know what's going on with it. If you're just average day, worker, voter, you just go to work, go home. And unless you have that interaction somewhere, either a traffic ticket or you get arrested or you're getting sued for something, you don't know if it's broken or not. So, what is there a state average of, hey, a misdemeanor case should take so many days? I would assume there is some type of state average. And does Bell County fall above, below?
That is something that I would have to look into. I know the Texas Indigent Defense Commission, they collect data. Um, and I would have to see if that's one of the items that they collect. I mean, the only thing that I can do, and I hate comparing Bell County to other counties, but I do take misdemeanor cases in McLennan County, and they have a very efficient process up there. I mean, it's nothing to get a misdemeanor case resolved within a few weeks or a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as I am appointed a case, I email their discovery people, and within, I would say, 48 hours, I have an entire discovery packet with an offer from the county that I'm able to share with my client and go over, how they want to proceed with their case. And it's efficient. And, I don't know what their backlog, if they even have any, what that looks like.
Yeah, we compare ourselves to other counties all the time. So either in pay or, I mean, we're always looking for other counties, what other counties are doing, what we're doing. So yeah, that's not uncommon. I attended an event this week, the Conference of Urban Counties, and Galveston County was there and really going into detail about their pretrial mental health and all that stuff, what they're doing, to try to reduce their jail population. Their jail was at 95% capacity, and once they put these measures in place, they went down to 77% capacity. But what they did was they didn't know where all the bottlenecks are. So they hired someone to come in and do a baseline of the entire criminal justice system, and that really intrigued me. That what barriers do we have, and where are they, and how can we fix that to lower that jail population and lower costs?
Right. To me, that's amazing because, well, one, looking at other similarly situated counties and how they're doing things is a great way to maybe change and improve our process. And that's great that they put programs in place to reduce their jail population, because in Bell County, we just build a bigger jail or
Right.
another jail, which doesn't really solve anything.
Well, I want to make data-driven decisions, and we don't have any data.
Right. And so, I mean, I guess that is a question or something that, obviously if I'm elected, that we could work on together. How do you get a person like that? What approval processes are there that we need to go through so that we have that? Because I would love to know how to reduce it, because it seems like the system here is very just bogged down with cases, and it just, something needs to happen. It needs to change.
Yeah, and I work with the current county attorney, and I don't see him making data-driven decisions. He probably doesn't know any of the numbers. Probably the only numbers he will be familiar with is what's in the OCA. I forgot the name of it. Where how many misdemeanors are pending and adjudicated and all that stuff.
I was like, I doubt he'd even be familiar with those, but
so, yeah, there's a lot of things that affects the budget.
Right.
That, the longer someone sits in jail, that I think we have like $90 a day. Mm-hmm. That is what it's costing the county per inmate.
Yeah. If you just break it down to simple math, if you look at a Class A misdemeanor, so maximum that you can, fine a defendant is $4,000. So if you want to rack up $90 a day for jail, the cost of their court-appointed attorney, and then the cost of the court's time, the county is losing money on every single misdemeanor because the process is not efficient.
Well, don't forget about health care, because when they're in jail, they're indigent, so we have to provide them health care, medication, anything like that.
Yep.
Mental health services.
Yep. And then in just the indigent, I'm like the indigent supplies too, because whenever I worked at the jail, I remember people that didn't have money, they could get envelopes, stamps, and all those little costs, they really add up over time. And so.
Well, there's a lot of things that even the commissioner's court could be doing to make things better than we don't. So I would imagine that's everywhere in our local government. We're having a lot of turnover in our elected officials. So we're going to be getting a new district attorney. We're going to be getting a new commissioner and new JP. How do you see yourself working with all these new new DA? I would imagine you're going to have a good close relationship.
I think that it's great that there are a bunch of new people coming in, because I find that the longer people are in office, the more complacent they get, the more rigid they are, and they don't want to change. It's that old mindset of it's the way we've always done things, so it's the way we're always going to do them. And that's not good for anybody. So I think getting new, fresh people in the office that are, I don't personally know who the district attorney is going to be. I've talked with the candidates, and they all seem like they're ready for a change and to make changes, positive changes. So I'm hoping that, what they've said is what they're going to do whenever they get in the office. But I will force people to work with me if I have to. So, because Bell County is a great place, and it can be better. And, especially for the people that are involved in the criminal justice system, like, it should be a much smoother process, and we should all work together to make it better.
Right. I don't know if I fully heard the answer to the question. Why did you decide to run for office?
Because I got fed up. I was just tired. I'm tired of an inefficient system that hurts the citizens, that hurts the people. You have to have an understanding of people and where they come from, because, and I say this a lot, no one ever wakes up in the morning and is like, you know what, I'm going to go use meth today, or I'm going to go commit a crime. No one wakes up like that. We're a product of our circumstances. And when you have, people that are just really trying to survive and to live, and nobody's perfect and people make mistakes. And I think that we forget that, because Bell County's one of those areas to where everyone just wants to punish to the furthest extent of the law. Well, that does not work. Every study shows that doesn't work. We have to look at people and what is going on and what is going on in the community. What are ways that we can help? I see a lot of juveniles, that get in trouble. And my first question is why? Especially with like truancy court. Why are kids not going to school? Could it be that 16, 17-year-old isn't going to school because he's choosing to go to work, because he's the sole provider for his family? If I were in a situation, I would skip school too to go to work to take care of my family. So how do we essentially start looking after our people more and putting things in place and alternatives? And I don't know much about Killeen ISD or if they have anything, but I know that, and I hate to always compare to Waco, but Waco ISD, they have a night school for high school for kids.
Okay.
And that is a great alternative for kids that, still want to go to school, want to complete high school, but also have this family obligation because they may be the sole caregiver.
Yeah, I remember a story of a father getting arrested for shoplifting diapers.
Yeah.
And sat in jail for a couple of months for that. And if that individual knew what resources are in the community and where to connect them, he wouldn't have had to have done that and then sit in jail for a couple of months.
Which is just ridiculous. But then the other thing that you run into is that a lot of organizations, they're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you think you're going to make it through the weekend, and then what happens when you don't? Having, community resources that are well known to law enforcement, to everybody, to where, instead of it just being, let's throw cuffs on them and throw them in jail, what can we do to help? So that way, they're not resorting to feeling like they have to steal for something, but to just get the information out there for people and really just taking a look at their circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I know that, I don't know if it's in McLennan County. I know other counties have public defender's office. What is your thought on public defenders?
Well, a public defender's office and a court-appointed attorney are essentially the same thing.
Correct.
Except for those attorneys are not in private practice. I don't know if we have enough time to go over all of my opinions on this. I mean, I think that Bell County having an actual public defender's office, as well as, an office of a true office of child representation, a true office of parent representation, I think not only would it save the county money, but I think having those resources that are known to the public would make the system better. Because right now, there's none of those things. And so if you just Google, I'm looking for a guardian ad litem, there's no Bell County guardian ad litems if you Google. If you Google, court appointed attorney, you're not getting anybody because you have to wait till you're appointed a specific person and then you have to go through their law office. And so probably one of the biggest complaints that I hear from people is that I don't hear from my attorney. I don't hear from, this person, that person. I don't know how to get a hold of them. I can't find them.
Well, we spend millions of dollars on court-appointed attorneys.
Oh, I know.
And so, is if we were to create a public defender's office, we kind of talked about it. If we created a public defender's office, we would still need court-appointed attorneys because for the amount of money, we wouldn't get enough public defenders for all the cases, money-wise, from what I remember kind of, cursory looking through.
I mean, I would have to look at it and see, but I highly doubt that. I think that you could get new attorneys that are looking for the experience that don't necessarily want to be a prosecutor, but that want to do that work and represent people. I think that you could get new attorneys into those positions because, when you're a county employee or, county state employee, there are benefits, there's health insurance, things that you don't get when you're working on your own. And sometimes things that you don't really get, when you're at big firms. And then plus, if you are able to get some experienced attorneys in there, then you have people that are there to help guide and to train these newer lawyers. I always expect turnovers with lawyers because that's usually how it is everywhere. Lawyers don't typically stay in a single firm or even in county and state jobs long because it's about going in, getting experience, and then moving on. And so it was always wild to me that a lot of or actually pretty much all the county attorneys, the assistant county attorneys that are here in Bell have been there for forever, it feels like.
Right.
Because that's just not really the norm everywhere else. Everywhere else, people seem to come and get experience, and whether they go set up their own office and do defense work, there's always lots of movement with attorneys. So.
Yeah. Well, I believe the incumbent, Jim Nichols, who you're challenging, was first elected in 2012.
Correct, but he's been working. From what I found, he's been working at the Bell County Attorney's Office since he was licensed in, I think, 1986.
Okay.
And I was born in 1985, just for the record. so he's been within that same office for a while.
Right. So, let's I guess let's get the piñata out and start beating up a little bit. The current county attorney got us, Bell County, into a lawsuit against the city of Killeen for exercising the city's discretion, voter-approved discretion, in not arresting, not ticketing low-level marijuana offenses. Class C, well, I don't think there's any Class C marijuana offenses other than paraphernalia, but Class C, Class B, and Class A. And that's at the Third Court of Appeals right now, just sitting. The Attorney General now has jumped onto the lawsuit against the city of Killeen. So now Killeen, who I'm a resident of, is defending against the state and Bell County. Tell us what you think about all that.
I have so many thoughts. First, I'll say, just very blatant, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why you would do that is beyond me. It's almost like he's acting like whatever money would be revenued from fines and is going into his pocket. But that's not the case because it can't be. It shouldn't be. I am very much, if that's what the people want, then that's what needs to happen. I do these little just hypotheticals in my head. And I'm like, if I were a police officer on the street in Killeen and I pull over someone and I have to then arrest them because for something like a Class A possession of marijuana, how much time is that taking me away from my job that I am not out there when there are domestic violence situations? There are thefts going on. There are crimes against people that are going on. But now I'm off the street for, hours to go through this process to arrest this person that had, a low level amount of marijuana on them. And I feel like as a person, it is a waste of time. I would rather our officers, my police officers, I would rather them be out, protecting people.
The city of Killeen, they did their update, I think a month or two ago, a month ago. And on marijuana arrests, they had 700 interactions. And of that 700, they only arrested 100. And normally that was because they had something else going on too.
Right.
So if it was marijuana by itself, 600 people were not clogging up our criminal justice system.
And that's 600 people that retained their employment and were able to be with their families and keep their kids in their home.
Right. They could have had a joint. They could have had up to, a couple of ounces. That's what the statute is. But
just to go back to that, it's my understanding that DPS doesn't even arrest for marijuana anymore. They give a ticket.
Right.
CPS, Child Protective Services, does not remove children for marijuana use alone anymore. I mean, and that's in the statute. So why are we suing Killeen for doing just what these other state agencies have done?
Yeah. Well, and this has been my train of thought on this, if we maximize enforcement, we don't have enough judges, we don't have enough attorneys, we don't have enough jail space to maximize. So what is the real question? What I don't understand.
What does it accomplish?
Yeah.
It keeps an entire population of people, and I'll be frank, it keeps, disproportionate amount of people of color in jail with criminal records, which keeps them from jobs, college, hope for the future.
Mm-hmm. Housing,
everything.
Right.
And that's really the goal of that, is to keep people down to where they don't have a voice and they don't have rights.
Well, hopefully we get a new county attorney in there to bring some of these changes. Another thing that just came out last week, I believe, is our Bell County attorney, Jim Nichols, was appointed by Comal County District Judge. Now, I think this is a funny name, Dib Waldrip. First name Dib. But anyways, to represent the state in removing Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza for the rogue prosecutor law that they just went into effect.
Right. And that in itself is a joke too. I read through those pleadings, and I would start with the person that filed it has a slew of other pleadings on file with Travis County, alleging people of defamation and all sorts of stuff. But it's all about what he said that he would do, not what he's actually done. Because he said before he got elected that he was not going to prosecute certain things. Mm-hmm. That's what it's being based on. And the last time I checked, you cannot prosecute someone based on what they've said, obviously as long as it doesn't violate First Amendment. But just because he said he wasn't going to do it, he hasn't actually, that I know of, he hasn't actually refused to prosecute. I think one of the ones was the abortion. Mm-hmm. He said that he was not going to prosecute a woman for seeking an abortion.
And I think marijuana too. He had
Yeah.
said something about marijuana. So in cases like this, they're like, okay, Bell County, you got this. Are Bell County citizens paying for this charade, this show, or is the county going to reimburse, or the state going to reimburse Bell County for getting involved in Travis County election business?
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer. I highly doubt that there would be any sort of reimbursement. I do think that as the Bell County attorney, Mr. Nichols probably should have been like, hey, I appreciate you want me to give me this case, but I really can't take it because I've got, like 9,000 pending misdemeanors I'm not handling in my county that need to get done. But
Yeah, no, he definitely needs to clear those. But
yeah,
I guess that's a question I'm going to bring up. Like, hey, are we going to get reimbursed for this? Bell County has no interest in removing the Travis County District Attorney.
right. Well, and then who else is he taking down there with him? Because is he handling this alone, or is he going to take one of his assistant county attorneys with him?
Yeah. Well, I would imagine he'd probably have his whole staff on this. I believe that there's supposed to be a hearing set for May 16th, so there's going to be more to come on that. But yeah, I think he's in a bad, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he doesn't accept the charges, then he'll have a lot of Republicans mad at him, and if he proceeds, he's going to have a lot of Democrats mad at him. But yeah, there's a whole lot of issues with that law, and it's just so new, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But yeah, no, I don't think we should have any business in Travis County politics.
No, I would agree with that. And I get appointed work all the time, and I've always been able to go to a judge and say, hey, I can't take this case, and for whatever reason, and I've never been denied that opportunity to reject a case I was appointed. So
Yeah, and so I don't. Yeah, well,
yeah,
I don't think he shies away from stuff like that. But surely there's more capable attorneys out there than our county attorney.
yeah, and well, not just that. I mean, I would say, prefer to choose a case with better facts. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
To where it's something where obviously the evidence is there that shows that someone did something very wrong. And I don't think that this case is that.
Yeah. So if we'll go ahead and start wrapping up a little bit. If someone wants to get a hold of you, wants to donate to you, anything like that, want to invite you over to a house party, how do they get a hold of you?
I love parties. Well, they can always Google me and just reach me through my law office. I would say post office box, but snail mail takes forever. But it is P.O. Box 212, Belton, Texas, 76513. And my email address is michelle@cummingslaw.us.
Mm-hmm.
And then their Facebook website, which is just michellecummingscampaign.com. And Facebook, I mean, if you just go or search my name in Facebook, it's there.
Okay.
I'm pretty easy to find.
You're on Act Blue and all that
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
Yeah, I guess they have a search procedure on there too, where you can just search for it.
Okay. So day one,
Mhm.
you take office, what's going to happen?
Dismiss the lawsuit against the city of Killeen.
Okay. All right.
That's day one.
You have my vote.
Thank you. And then a lot of it is, I'm very much an observer. I like to observe and see before I make any big changes. So after that, it's really just going to be observing, trying to see what works, who works, and what's not going well, and how can we make changes. And that's something that, me independently on my own, I plan on essentially having people, whether those are people currently within the office or, people like the commissioners, like, to reach out guidance both ways. Like, this is what I'm seeing that's not working well. This is my plan. you know, is that something that everyone would be in support of? What does that look like? Because this is not to me, it's not an independent position. You have to rely on everyone around you and the community and the public. And that's the other thing too, is having an open door policy to where anybody is able to come in and voice a complaint or a concern, or, hey, this is what's going on. What can we do to make this better? Even defendants that, hey, my case has been pending for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So making sure that we can get a more efficient process that's fair to the people as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming, talking to us, letting people get to know you a little bit more. I know I'm hungry for information and to get information out there and letting people know that there are options here locally that we haven't had before in many, many years. So thank you for stepping up to the plate and giving the people a choice. And you're obviously the right choice for me and probably a lot of the listeners here. We just need to make sure that we do our part and get enough people out to vote, so we make sure you represent Bell County come January 2025.
Thank you so much for having me. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you. How excited are you about Michelle Cummings being our next Bell County attorney? I know I am, and I definitely look forward to working with her during the election and out on the campaign trail. So someone very passionate and cares about what they're doing, interacting with the community, and just all around good person. So thank you for listening to the show. We have a lot of stuff going on. Like you heard what I said earlier, the budget's about to get started, all the meetings for that. So we have a lot of stuff to do. We still have voting for our local elections going on until May 4th next weekend. We'll know who will be on city council and school boards here locally. So there's still time to make your voice heard, and we will see you next week.